Jonathan, welcome to Real Estate No Dumb Questions. It's great to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Thanks for being here. How's the Windy City treating you ever since you left me in the DC area to fend for myself?
I know it's cold, it's windy, it's what you think it is, but best city on earth in the summer. So pros and cons, but it's been good.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Well, we miss you. So if you are ever looking to come back, you know that it'll make our day. I've got a lot of questions for you today. So let's just jump right into it. I'd love to start with some just background info so our audience can get to know who Jonathan is. Let's start with the first one. How did you get into real estate and what keeps you motivated to continue doing it every day? Because, at least in my opinion, despite popular belief, it's not as easy as people might think it is.
It's not. I wish it was easier sometimes.
Right.
No, actually, funny enough, I first got into real estate in college, technically. I was a leasing agent for multiple apartment complexes. So I was just doing the showings back to back and showing apartments in a building in good old Richmond, Virginia. And that was sort of my introduction into that world. And then I made the jump post college in DC. Don't really know what I'm doing. I used to do corporate federal recruiting, staffing, hated that. I thought like sales, suit and tie was the way for me. The least professional human being there is. So I don't know why I think that. And I made the jump, joined the team 7 years ago, and here we are. So it's been good.
I think you should give yourself more credit. I don't think it's that you're not professional. I think you're very relatable.
Sure.
You're very relatable. I didn't know you started with leasing offices. That's also how I started in real estate, in
Yeah.
property management, and that's how I learned sales was not for me. I don't ever want to be a real estate agent.
Yeah. I actually did leasing and I even did a hint of like real estate development. And I realized the most fun I had were the showings. The least fun I had were filing permits and working with like
Sure.
city hall. And I was like, I hate this, but how can I make more of a career out of showings? And I was like, oh, I guess I could do this realtor thing, give it a shot. Why not? So
And all
yeah.
these years later, you're still doing it, even through the pandemic. Like, wild. Well, you previously ran your own real estate team in the DC metro area before you sold it and moved to Chicago. What are some of the biggest shifts or changes that you've noticed selling real estate in Chicago compared to DC, Maryland, and Virginia?
Yeah, bigger market in terms of overall volume. It's a little bit more competitive on our actual real estate side. That's been really interesting to see. In DC, there's just a couple Goliaths, and that's really about it. In Chicago, there's a lot. And we are not a title state, so we are an attorney state. So, attorneys, very similar to like New York. Once you go under contract, you have a real estate attorney, which is kind of sounds more intimidating than it really is, but a little different. But overall, the process is very much the same. Some quirks here and there, but starting over was it's never fun.
No, I can't imagine, but it's good to know that, like, still that baseline knowledge, you're not like sort of relearning that over there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a muscle memory, that's it's like riding a bike in that sense, but learning the differences in the state law, right? The federal law is all the same, but the states have different laws and bylaws here
That's
and
right.
there. It's a little different, but not the end of the world. Still can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as you and I both know, in the DC metro area, closings are handled by a title company. You had just mentioned something about that. And the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, are what we call the title states. And now you're in Chicago. Illinois is an attorney state, as you just mentioned, meaning the closing is handled entirely by a law firm. As an agent, did your expectations of how closings have to shift and how those go? What does that relationship with your preferred law firms look like now compared to working with a title company in the DC metro area?
Closings back in the DMV, in my opinion, are more in terms of like what, for example, like Allied Title specifically, like what you guys did great was you made it such a celebration, right? You're closing at the title office and it's a celebration and it's fun. That is not the way it is here. Closings are clients alone with the attorney. Sometimes the attorney's just on the phone and they just go over the paperwork. It is more separate and confidential and it's more kind of professional in that manner.
A little more formal.
Very formal. Even the formal title companies in DC are considered laid back to compared to here in a bit. So it's more of a we'll celebrate with the client maybe pre or post closing, but closing paperwork is taken arguably more serious. It's different, but that relationship with the law firm is still very much the same in the sense of, I'm having to I have vendors that I now trust and have that faith in who have closed deals for me successfully with no qualms or have handled obstacles well. So it's still finding those good vendors for the client. And now I can use them just like a title company on both buy and sell side.
I love that. Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment and shout out to Allied. And yeah, and I think to your point of like, it's not that like a title company doesn't take it as seriously as a law firm. It's just in your state, the deal is being handled by a law firm, meaning they're going to run the transaction as if they would, a law firm, essentially. So, Jonathan, how do timelines differ from contract to close in the Midwest compared to the East Coast?
It's not that different. So 21, 30 days, local lenders here still competitive, can close it in 2 weeks. Obviously, a national bank would still love to do it in 30 to 45 days, but pretty similar to the DC area.
Great to know. Chicago's
Yeah.
starting to look appealing to me over here. No, I'm not there yet. It'll take some more convincing, but so far so good. Okay, so who is actually buying in Chicago right now? Is it first-time home buyers, people looking to buy their second home, investors? Who's buying right now?
Everybody. Second home buyers, third, people who want a second home in the US or they live here in the burbs and want a home in the city. A lot of investors, a lot of big companies are moving here. Google is opening their new huge headquarters here. That's been
right.
very chaotic. So it's a little mix of everything, right? And, there's actually this crazy stat that was just released. They were saying how the average first-time homebuyer age is now 40 years old. And that's crazy. But I'm not seeing that necessarily here in Chicago, right? You have first-time homebuyers in their early to late 20s, right? Fresh out of college, looking for their first starter condo. To then, families and the whole nine. Very diverse.
That gives me so much hope because just as a millennial, yeah, it's disappointing to know that data point, but it doesn't surprise me with just like the way the world has gone for our generation. But that gives me so much hope. Like people in their 20s, like, yes, you can buy, you can do it. You just need to be in the right place. Like,
I know I look different on camera. I had to switch to my laptop because my phone was failing me. So thanks for bearing with me there.
I'm sorry. Do you see this light right now, by the way?
I do. I keep meaning to ask you and then it gets better and then we go, what's happening?
I have no idea. I'm like at a club right now. It's like a strobe light.
I know. I got like a strobe light effect. So Jonathan, what is the average price point in Chicago and those surrounding areas?
It's actually very similar to the DMV and DC area. Our average price point is just over about 600, and that ranges pretty drastically. Obviously, of course, that's all of Chicagoland, but prices can go from as little as to 100, 200,000 for a little condo to, sky's the limit. So it does range very dramatically though as well.
That makes sense. Are there any programs that you know of for first-time home buyers? What does that look like in Chicago?
So there's like a million first-time homebuyer programs. First-time homebuyer programs can range from federal level to state level to down to your county, right? In Chicago, our main county, which encompasses like all of most of Chicago, is called Cook County. And there's a million programs in Cook County based on the location to your income, to your background and the whole nine. So the best way to know what's best for you is just simply talk to a lender. You're not going to be able to research it yourself. They have a computer that'll just tell you what the best program is for you and you're good.
They have those tools. Yeah, that's right. When is busy season in Chicago? Because spring market here in DC is our most bumpin' time of the year, as you know, and we're in the thick of it. So what does a busy market look like in Chicago?
Very similar, right? So the busy season is mostly revolves around schools. March through June, July, August is just absolute chaos, and then slows down a tiny bit. But then also like January, February is just absolutely nutty as well. Kind of a mix, in my opinion, of like, I think it's your New Year's resolution. People are like, this is the year I'm going to buy. And then they go out and week one, it's like going to a gym in January. It's a mess. Or it's home sellers with kids who move during winter break.
So how can buyers and sellers stay competitive in a market that seems to be always busy?
The terms, how you just prepare yourself. It's very much a seller's market and depending on the neighborhood, but for the most part, it's a seller's market. So if you're a buyer, it's a game. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. Price isn't what always wins offers. It's also your terms. Most offers I win in very competitive situations were not the highest offer. right? So it's just understanding that. And then as a seller, sit back, relax. You give a line out your door a little bit sometimes. So it's kind of
Kind of
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
How quickly, we were kind of touching on this in the beginning, how quickly or not quickly did it take you to build up a network of your preferred lenders, inspectors, law firms, stagers, all that good stuff, all those people you need?
Yeah, pretty quickly because I needed them ASAP, of course. But also, I have really great connections here in the first place in the real estate world. And so most of them were already their trusted vendors for years and years. So it's not like I just plucked these people out of nowhere. I have a pretty great team that supports me and that I stand with. And so most of my vendors are their vendors, right? That we have these relationships with. So that was pretty easy. Again, I guess that's also pros and cons of being on a real estate team or trying to just duke it out yourself solo, but teach their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you touched on this a little bit in the beginning from kind of an agent perspective, but from a buyer or seller's perspective, you'd mentioned the closing experience is a bit more on the traditional side. Would you say that that sort of meets their expectations of what they thought their closing was going to look like?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, unless you're purchasing something all cash or you're a seller, right, you can close completely virtually, right? It's just as easy as a DocuSign. But for the majority of the people out there who are financing a loan and buying, right, you have to sign, in ink in terms of in paper, and that process is probably about an hour, hour and a half. I would say the other interesting aspect, though, at least in comparing Chicago to the DMV, is they don't and can't verify funds until after you've signed the paperwork. And so what's really interesting about that is we know closings usually take about, depending on the person, about 30 to 60 minutes to fill out the paperwork, ask questions. You'll finish, and then unfortunately you do have to stay there for about another 30 minutes, maybe up to an hour, as they then need to not only verify that the funds are there, but then the lender also verifies that you signed that paperwork. So it's a bit of an extra step.
That's interesting. You and I had been talking earlier before this about like untold norms. And that sounds like maybe perhaps an untold norm in the process of like closing a deal in Chicago. So Jonathan, now I want to segue into our no dumb questions portion of our time together. That's what this channel is all about, is there are no dumb questions in real estate. So I want to ask you some of the ones that have come my way these days. So if a buyer is relocating to a new area, in your opinion, what areas of expertise should they be looking for in their realtor?
Can be case by case. It's dependent on who you are, what's important to you, right? Obviously, for me personally, I try to provide communication in terms of quickness, in terms of responding, and then just on the overall knowledge of the market. Some people prefer that more professional route. Some people want to be more of a personal, more of a friend as a realtor, right? I think it's case by case in that sense. A lot of people, I will say, also I've come to find is, especially in the more younger generations, if you're kind of the age of 30 to 40, they want to work with someone their age. They feel more comfortable. While someone maybe of the older generation does not care, or maybe they want to work with someone of their age. To each their own. Just start talking to a few realtors and you will vibe with one and pick one and feel good, but also make sure they're good. Make sure they know what they're doing. So
Exactly. Well, that's actually goes perfectly into my next question, is how will a buyer know that they've met their real estate matchmaker, if you will?
just make sure they have experience. Your average realtor does like maybe 3 or 4 deals a year, right? As long as you're finding someone who's doing more than that, they're technically above average. We know what benefit are they going to give you if you work with them? What kind of resources do they have? How many deals have they done in certain areas that you're looking in, right? There might be just some quirks or some HOAs that you need to be aware of that have loopholes or have issues. So just certain agents will know more, but just whoever you feel most comfortable with. It's a very personal and stressful process. I always say I try to relieve as much stress as possible, but it's going to be stressful. It's the most expensive purchase of your life until the next one. And I'm going to know every little thing about you. Your income, that debt you don't want to talk about, the credit score that you don't want to talk about. Like, I'm going to know. It's okay, but you have to trust me.
It's all about trust at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what are some clues for buyers to pay attention to when they are interviewing realtors?
I mean, personally, I'm more of a black and white numbers kind of guy. So it's just the stats. But if that clue is maybe it's a referral, maybe you have that past, so a friend of yours has worked with that agent, right? Case by case, read their reviews, look at their online presence, because that's big in our world.
Yeah, I completely agree. What is the biggest mistake people often make when purchasing in a new or unfamiliar area?
I mean, again, I am more of a numbers guy. So when I hear biggest mistake, I hear you're overpaying, or you're just buying something that's your resale value, or your sellability of it's just going to be horrible. If it was on the market for 100 days when you're buying it, why was it on the market for 100 days? Will it be on the market for 100 days when you try to sell? Like, that's what my mind always goes to. Is it just on the market for 100 days because they're priced too high, or is it quirky? Like, is there something that you like can't change, or could you change? Buying something and not really looking at the data and the comps, like what else has sold, what is this worth? Just because the sticker price says this much doesn't mean it's worth that. I see that happen way too many times. I sit down with a seller and I'm like, you paid what for when? Like, no, you're not going to get that money back. Like, this is the market. Just knowing what you're getting yourself into. It's a big purchase. So.
And what I'm hearing is you're a data guy, you're a numbers guy, and you'd mentioned earlier, the average agent is only doing 3 to 4 deals a year. That's not someone who's going to be well versed in that data. But an agent who's doing 3 to 4 deals a month, like you're looking at those data points all the time. You know the market, and you can confidently say to that seller, no, you're not going to get that money back. Look at the data. And that's huge. So let's pretend I'm a seller considering selling my home without agent representation. For those of you watching, that is called FSBO, or for sale by owner. Jonathan, what are the disadvantages or the challenges I should expect to face if I'm that seller doing this on my own?
I mean, from start to finish, it's just going to be difficult. I know, right? That's the whole idea, right? A lot of people think real estate's easy. I welcome you to get your license and do it then. Like, if it was that easy, we all just make so much money. It's so easy, right? Okay, then do it. From start to finish, it is going to be tough, right? So from the marketing aspect to understanding even showings, but then to the actual legal side, you get an offer. You don't know the ins and outs of a contract. You don't know the contingencies and loopholes and the tactics that people are going to use on you. It's kind of funny, not funny, but like rarely, because for sale by owners are pretty rare even in Chicago, but rarely when I get one and I representing the buyer, I have quite a few tricks up my sleeve that I could play on you, right? I'm representing my buyer. I don't represent you, right? So I'm here to get him the best deal. So you just need to have that extra layer of protection. And it's not even protection, it's almost liability. I mean, it's just have that layer and then just let them do their job. I mean, it's what's best for your investment. So
I like what you just said about liability, because I don't hear people often use that term. It's more, you need that representation. You need someone looking out for your best interests. But I think sellers who do have the mindset of, oh, I could do this on my own, probably are like, well, I know what's best for me. I can do that. But to your point, they don't have that knowledge or legal understanding of contracts or those loopholes, or even the connections to your real estate vendors lenders, the law firms, those resources, or even the systems you use to market. What you were saying, marketing's going to be tough for them. So yeah, those are all really good and interesting points, I think, that anyone selling their home needs to consider. It's going to be hard. It's going to be work. There's a reason that people do this for a living. It's not easy.
It's usually not worth your time as a seller, and stress, mental health. Like, it's just, I mean, if you want to try, go for it, but I highly, highly don't recommend it. Also, there's a million surveys and stats out there. I know it's easy for me to say, you look it up. There are a million stats that show when you hire representation, you sell your house for more. You're just also, now you're losing money.
It's so true. So as a buyer, I'm not your seller anymore. Now I'm your buyer. What do you get out of it if I go with your preferred lender?
Genuinely, people will ask me that. And then, what kind of kickback do you get? I don't get any financial kickback. Okay. Oh, what kind of scheme you think I'm running here? I don't have time to be running schemes like this, by the way. I got way too many other deals to focus. If you think I'm trying to make another quick buck, I'm not. But no, I've seen a million deals fall through because of lenders and loans. You don't close on time. Guess who's in default of the contract? Now your earnest money deposit's at risk. You could get sued. I mean, like, people, this isn't, we might come across that we're super laid back and super chill and funny, but it is a very expensive contract with very high intense consequences.
Your office really wants it to be a dance party today.
And then the moment I stop talking about it, it stops.
So as a buyer, let's just say, I'm in my young 20s. I just moved out of my parents' house like a year ago. I don't have all that much money saved up, but everyone's always saying, talk to an agent, talk to an agent. If I'm someone who knows like that's something something I want in my life, like in a few years maybe, how can I prepare financially before I start making offers?
Talk to an agent and talk to a lender. Talk to a loan officer. Talk to a mortgage guy. No one's ever going to, if you talk to any either, right? No one's ever going to answer the phone and say, "Ooh, like, you're not ready." No one's going to do that.
Guys, that part. Jonathan, I feel like that's what hangs people up is like the younger you are, I feel like people are like, that sounds so intimidating. Like they're just going to laugh, like, you're not ready, you're wasting my time, sort of thing.
I have so many clients who come up to me and like apologize. They'll be like, "I'm so sorry, I'm not buying like this month." And I'm like, "It's okay. I'm going to be here a year from now when you do, or 3 years from now. I'll still be here. It's okay. My numbers aren't going to change. I'm still here." But same thing with a loan officer. They will tell you, like, you want to buy this much. Here's how much you need to make. Here's what we can do with your debt. They actually also, lenders are like really good. If you need to work on your credit score, they have a million tips and tricks to boost your credit score like that. So like if you have trouble now, talk to them.
I love it. This one's always fun. And I feel like people always wonder about this, but never want to ask. How are you compensated?
It's a great question. I am 100% commission for starters. So let's do that. And then also, yeah, it's not like us realtors. We don't see like the full 2.5%. People are like, "Oh my God, like that's so much money." Yeah, it is. But also I don't see all of that. I have very expensive association fees, monthly dues. Then I also have, if I'm on a team, I have my own splits and fees and costs and whatnot. I see a good amount of it, right? I see a chunk of it, but it's not like that is it. And then people sometimes also will still say like, "Oh, well, that's still too much," or whatever. I mean, keep in mind, like, this is my livelihood. Like, this is like also a long-term running. For those clients that I did meet 2 years ago, I'm working for free until the idea of you close one day. So there's a lot more risk involved. A lot of people think, like I said, it's not easy. 85% of realtors fail after their first year.
Doesn't surprise me.
85%. You get licensed, 85% will quit after a year because it's hard.
It's really hard. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, guys, so now we are going to jump into our last section, rapid fire. We're going to do something a little differently today. I'm going to have Jonathan put me in the hot seat where he's asking me some of the questions.
What the hell is title insurance?
Title insurance is exactly what it's called. It insures the way you hold title to the property that you own. And so what it essentially does is, let's just say Jonathan's back in the DMV making my dreams come true and he sends Allied Title a contract. The title company is immediately pulling what we call a title search on that property to confirm that title is free and clear and that we can issue that property free and clear to the buyer. On closing day, title company pulls that same search up to make sure that nothing new has popped up. But after the closing takes place, where's your protection? What if something new comes up on title after the fact? Title insurance is there to protect you. I like to call it peace of mind insurance. And what does it protect you from? Let's say someone's great Aunt Sally passed away a few months ago and their great Aunt Sally's nephew comes knocking on your door and says, "Hey, I got her will. It says I get an ownership in this property." Well, now you have someone challenging your ownership of that property. Let's say you own a single family home and you have a nice backyard and you have a fence and a neighbor, and that neighbor is now building a shed encroaching on your land. Title insurance can protect you from things of that nature. So again, I like to call it peace of mind coverage because if these things happen after closing and you don't have this insurance, which is a one-time fee that's wrapped up into your closing costs, then that homeowner would have to hire a real estate attorney to litigate those issues. And that is far more expensive and quite the hassle on the homeowner versus already being insured from a title perspective and leaning on their title insurance company to resolve those issues for them.
We're talking about the title side, worst case scenario, but what are common mistakes you would see?
Commonly, what we'll see is a contract being sent over. Maybe one of the buyer's names is Christopher, but he goes by Chris, and the contract is sent over as Chris Smith, but that's not legally his name. More often than not, the lender is going to need that updated to Chris's full name. Chris will likely want to take title with his full name and not just as Chris. So this is just when agents are preparing contracts. It's not that they're getting the name wrong. They might just not necessarily be asking the person, like, what is your legal name as it reads on your driver's license? That's how we're going to list you on the contract. So some of the most common title issues we'll see on the more serious side of things are
Mhm.
mechanics liens. Mechanics liens are some of the most common liens we find on title. Maybe a previous owner had some renovation work done on the property and they didn't fully pay out that contractor. So what did that contractor do? They might have sent it to collections or, whatever, filed something with the county to place a lien on the property until they're paid back. And what does a lien do? A lien is essentially you being charged interest by the day on an uncollected debt, and now your home is being used as the collateral for that debt. We see mechanics liens all the time. In fact, on a new construction property, we often encourage people to get the best possible title insurance, because on new construction properties are where you can often see those mechanics liens pop up after the deal closes.
Mhm.
Another really common one on the more serious side is unreleased deeds of trust. In layman's terms, a mortgage from a prior owner. Maybe there was a homeowner 2 owners ago who had a mortgage on the property, and when they sold it to a buyer, that mortgage got paid off at the closing, and the title company or the law firm, depending on what state you're in, they then sent that to the county or the jurisdiction, the city, to officially be recorded to release that mortgage as the lien of record. But somehow that ball got dropped on the county side and it never got recorded. So while that mortgage is still paid off, it hasn't been released as the official mortgage of record. That's something we see almost every day. And we have to track down unreleased mortgages to officially clear them from the title work.
There's so much more than people realize.
I know. It's crazy.
That's all the questions I have.
Oh my gosh, yay, how'd I do?
I think you did great.
Yeah, I was like, I put everyone else in the hot seat when I'm filming with someone. Maybe we shake it up this time around.
Good learning lesson even for me. A little refresher.
Ooh, I like it. Well, Jonathan, this was great. I really appreciate your time today. Learned so much. I think our viewers are going to get a lot out of this too. So thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate your time. And come visit us in DC. We miss you.
I have to come. I need to get out there.
I love it. Thanks again for doing this with me.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.